fabricated hadith, right? So now, ya shabab, now if we have a claim, someone says, okay, there is a God, someone says there is no God. Okay, you're saying there is God, you have to know, this is a claim or a report? Claim. If you tell me, wallah, something happened yesterday in whatever place, someone told me that someone told them, okay, then we need to track this narration or this report and make sure it is authentic, right? By knowing who told who told who told who, etc. Right? Now, and that's why you don't believe everything you read in the news, right? Many of these reporters, they were caught on camera lying, right? Many reporters, they were caught lying on camera, right? And many reporters, like the Zionist army reporters, the Zionists, they don't let any international reporters into Gaza or Palestine in general. But sometimes they select some reporters and they take them, they prepare, they fabricate some scenes and they take them to see certain scenes that they already faked. So not every reporter is trustworthy, right? Now, we should never accept any claim without proof that suits the nature of that claim and proves it to be valid. Every claim has a specific type of proof. For example, ya shabab, material or physical claims have to be proven by the empirical method. Just as I told you yesterday, if a certain animal produces a certain substance and someone says, this animal produces a certain substance and it causes a certain disease, is this a report or a claim? That's a claim. He's claiming that this animal produces this substance and it causes this disease, right? I cannot go and ask that animal, do you really do that? So what do?
Lab.
Test it out.
I need to use the empirical method, right? Which is based on observation, experimentation, and then what? Deduction. Then I conclude the rule, right? I take Abdul Haq, put that substance on him, and see what happens. He dies, this means it's right. This claim is right. Allah yarhamu. Okay. Whereas in the metaphysical claims, now there's another type of claims. Some people, they think they're talking science. They think they are smart. They tell you, prove to me through science that God exists. So what do you want? You want me like to take you to the lab and show you that God exists in the lab, for example? There are things that are metaphysical. The scientific method, it applies to physical things, right? Things you can take to the lab, you can make or you can, not necessarily in the small lab, you can make experiments on. But there are things that are metaphysical. Do scientists know that the soul exists by the empirical method? No. The scientific method? No. There are other ways, right? There are other ways. So the metaphysical claims, ya shabab, we cannot apply the empirical method in any way to the metaphysical claim. They're metaphysical, not physical. Rather, we have to apply other methods which are based on pure reasoning and logic and rational argumentation. Yani, can you prove to me in the lab through an experiment that 1 + 1 is 2? Can you prove to me through the scientific method? Let's observe. 1 + 1, let's see. They will be 2.
Yeah.
Do you need a scientific method to prove that the whole is bigger than the part? That's common sense, right? All mathematical equations and mathematical stuff, are they based on experimentation? No. They're based on reason, on logic, right? On pure logic and reasoning, right or no? Right or no, ya shabab?
Chef, if you do this one, that's one.
So those claims, I want you to understand, that for example, let's consider this step-by-step simple syllogism using pure reasoning to deduce the necessary existence of the Creator. The introduction, Ya Abdul Haq. Everything in the universe has a beginning, must have a cause. Everything in the universe that has a beginning must have a cause. And due to infinite regression being impossible, they so when we look now sometimes you need to observe, and you need sometimes some introduction or some premises, they call them. You need to know them, you need to see, you need to look. That's why Allah Ta'ala told you to reflect, told you to look, told you to ponder on the signs of the heavens and the earth. If we look around us, we see everything in the beginning in the universe has a beginning. Why? Because everything around us is changing. Everything that is changing has a beginning. If it has a beginning, means it didn't bring itself to existence. It must have a cause, right? And another premise, Ya Maram, and we're going to study this in lesson 2 in details, and I'm going to give you the example of the infinite regression, or the infinite regress impossibility. Those things that are independent, they are caused by other things. If someone tells me that those things are also caused by other independent things to infinity, we say that is impossible. Now, if we look at the universe, we know the universe began to exist, right? Now, almost all scientists agree that the universe had a point in time where it didn't exist. Almost no one disagrees about this. That the universe started with the Big Bang. It wasn't there. Then it existed, right? Therefore, the beginning of the existence of the universe must have been caused by something. The only such cause must be an uncaused causer or mover or agent. We call him creator, right? And this creator, Ya Salman, must possess the following necessary attributes. So, one more time, focus with me here. This universe began to exist. This is, look, we are proving something, proving a claim through pure reasoning and rational argumentation and logic. This universe had a beginning. This means it's impossible it brought itself into beginning, because there was a point in time it did not exist. So imagine now I didn't exist, then I brought myself into existence. That's impossible. If I didn't exist, then I existed means what? Someone else brought me into existence.
Yeah.
Now, if this thing that brought me into existence also was brought to existence by someone else, is it possible? Okay, we understand. This pencil, it didn't exist. Okay? We planted the trees, then we cut the tree, we made it. Now, so this pencil had a maker. Now, this person who made the pencil, if we say we have two options. Either he is not caused by any other cause, means he doesn't have a beginning, or he has a beginning. If he doesn't have a beginning, means he is the creator, he is the maker, right? If he has a beginning, this means there was someone else who brought him into existence. The one before him, if he has a beginning, this means he's not the source. So can we go to infinity without having someone who is the cause and who's not caused by any cause, who's not created by anything? It's impossible. So there must be one who's the causer of all causes, and he's uncaused, he's not caused by any cause. That is the creator. That is the creator. Now this creator, Ya Shabab, he must have certain attributes. Number one, who can tell me the first attribute that you think of about the existence of this creator? His existence is beginninglessness, right? Yani, he has no beginning. The first attribute is self-existence. Or, if he didn't exist, if he did not always exist, means someone brought him into existence, so he's not the creator. So the first attribute is what? Self-existence, right? Having no beginning. The second, eternality. If he ceases to exist in the future, this means he had a beginning. This means he's depending on other things. He doesn't have self-existence. If he has self-existence, he will exist forever, right? So that is al-akhir. That's from the Quran. Al-awwal has no beginning. Al-akhir, no end. Beginninglessness, endlessness. No beginning, no end. The next attribute that this creator must have is what? Knowledge. He must have knowledge. He must know, right? He must have ultimate knowledge. Because when we observe the universe, we see it's full of coherent knowledge that could not have been random, right? Therefore, the one who created it must be knowledgeable. The next very important attribute, these attributes, shabab, even if we don't have religious texts that tell us about these attributes, we have to know them and conclude them by logic and by our mind. This creator must have a will. Must have a will. Irada. This can be deduced by the fact that everything was specified to be in a certain way, which indicates that it was not random, and the creator must possess will. Why this table was made in this shape? Why it's not circular? There was a will that wanted to make it in that shape, and another will wanted to make this chair in this shape, in this color, in this. So when we see things in the universe, right, specified in certain specifications out of so many other options, who specified them to be in that way? It's someone who had a will. He willed to make them with those specifications. You understand? That's why we say Allah qa'im bi nafsihi. Allah does not need a specifier. Allah is not limited. Is not a body. He is qa'im bi nafsihi. He is not specified or found by any other thing. No, he has self-existence and not limited by anything, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tamam? And doesn't need a mahal, doesn't need a locus to be in. So means he's not an attribute. No, he has his own special essence or self. Last one, anyone can guess the fifth most important necessary attribute. These are necessary attributes. Imagine a God who doesn't have knowledge. That's not a God.
Coefficient.
A God who doesn't have will. Huh? Is that a God? No. What about Salman? This God has a will. He willed to make things in a certain way. Who can tell me what do we need so that he makes those things in a certain way?
Power.
Excellent. Power. So alhamdulillah, now you're going with the logical order. So power is a necessary attribute for the creator. The creator must have ultimate power. Right? Ultimate power. على كل شيء قدير. He's able to do everything. Thus, this uncaused causer or agent or designer or creator is the one and only God that is meant by Muslims. Summary. When it comes to proving the existence of the creator, Muslim scholars follow two lines of thinking. Shabab, when we talk about, we're going to talk more about this later, but this is a summary now. The scholars of Islam, they took two routes. The first route, proving that the text of the Quran that we have is the same as what the Prophet ﷺ conveyed. And what method did we use for that? Huh?
Conviction.
What method? Tawatur. Proving authenticity. We mentioned this last class. But there is here one more step. There is one more step. What is that step? The other step, is it enough, ya shabab? Is it enough that Is it enough that we prove that we received the same Quran that the Prophet ﷺ had? Well, if you do that, someone might tell you, well, yeah, it's clear, as I had someone after the debate that I had in the few months ago, a Christian brother, he came, brother in humanity, right? We are all brothers and sisters in humanity. He came and he told me, you know, I have a question. I'm really convinced the Quran is preserved. There's no comparison. That's his words. Those were his words. But there's no comparison. It's very clear. The Quran has been preserved in a great way. But he had other questions. He had questions about what the Quran says about the Christ and stuff. So I answered him. So if we reach this is not enough. What do we have to prove next? We have to prove that this Quran that the Prophet ﷺ had, it is in reality from God. It's not from the Prophet or anyone else. Tamam? And how can we prove that? How can we prove that? So proving the Prophet ﷺ was truthful in his claim that he received the Holy Quran by revelation from Almighty Allah through Angel Jibreel. Which method we use to prove this? Which method we use to prove this? This person, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is saying he received a revelation from the Creator. And he is showing us this revelation, the Quran. How can we prove? Can we use the first method, that proving the narrations? Or we have here to use the metaphysical proofs, let's say. Or this is a metaphysical claim, so we have to use pure reasoning and rational argumentation. What do we have to use? What do we have to use? Huh? Logical reasoning and argumentation. صح? Very briefly. This man, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the greatest of all people and all creatures, he never made a lie in his whole life. 40 years. The most righteous, the most respectful, the most kind. The women, the business women that he worked for, she admired him and tested his honesty, and she proposed to marry him. She proposed to marry him. Radiallahu anha, Sayyidah Khadija, right? She sent her servant and, right? People used to put their treasures with him, entrust him with their treasures. When he called them all to the mount, we remember, right? And he said, if I tell you there's an army coming to attack you, will you believe me? They said, we never heard you lying. By reasoning, by logic, by just pure thinking, reasoning. Is it possible that this man who lived all of his life as righteous, one day he will come and claim falsely that he is a prophet? Is that possible? Does that make sense? No. Especially Ya Abdul Haq, when we see the message, the content of the message. Did he tell people to worship him? Never. Did he tell people to honor him? Never. He used to sit on the floor like other people. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He was the most humble, the most kind, the most merciful. Did he want to take money from people? People bring him money. He doesn't sleep giving money, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He will always give people. To the extent sometimes he will ask his wife, what do we have? Do we have anything for breakfast? She says no. He says, okay, then I'm fasting. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. A month and a month passes as Sayyidah Aisha, the pure lady, radiallahu anha, the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she said, كان يمر علينا الهلال والهلال ولا يوقد في بيت رسول الله نار صلى الله عليه وسلم. That a month and a month will pass and no fire in the house of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Means what? They're not cooking. They don't have food to cook. They just eat date or whatever, right? Date and water, as she said in another narration. Date and water. Al-aswadan, at-tamr wal-ma. They asked her, what was your food then? She said, al-aswadan, at-tamr wal-ma. So, such a person whose message is all about peace and love and mercy and everything, is it possible that he's lying? He didn't call people to worship himself, right? He also, Ya Abdul Haq, acknowledged the messages of all of the other people, prophets and messengers before him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He did not like negate their messages or talk bad about them. All these, yeah, all these facts, Ya Shabab, are they not proofs, rational proofs, that he is a messenger from God and he received this message from God, from the Creator? Huh? I just gave you some examples. What do you think? Did we need a experiment? Huh? To do that? Did we? Did we? We didn't, right? Do you guys understand that? I just gave you examples. Still, if you look at the Quran, the language of the Quran, the Prophet hey, stop. The language of the Quran, the Prophet ﷺ did not read or write in his life in the past. Someone who did not read or write brings such an eloquent book that the Arabs, who were known for their eloquence, for their mastery in poetry and in language, he brought them something. When many of them listened to it, they're amazed. They're amazed. They said, this is not the words of a human being. They said, the pagans, they said, this cannot be the words of a human being. So the content of the Quran, the language of the Quran, today, when we read about some scientific facts in the Quran, like the ones about mountains and embryo, what do we conclude? The Quran cannot be from a human being. صح? We have, in the sheets I gave you, I collected 8 statements from non-Muslim intellectuals. Non-Muslim thinkers. See what they said about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are non-Muslim. See their testimony about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So from all of these proofs we understand he must have been a prophet. Right? So we have those 2 pages. Inshallah, we'll finish them next time. And then we'll move to, inshallah, a lesson of fiqh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who listen to this page and follow its best. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Any question about anything we said at all?